back to The Christian View. Our guest today is Carol Swain. She's the author of Be the People. And in her book, she exposes the deceptions of the culturally elite. Let's talk about them. Who are they and what's their agenda?
Well, if you look at my academic training, I would be one of them, but we know that that's not true. I don't have anything to do with them. But it's the people that usually, we think about the cultural elites, they're the ones that think they know more than the rest of us. The newspaper editors, some of the politicians, most of the people in academia, but the opinion leaders in our societies that believe that everyday men and women, that these people, that somehow being religious, that's backwardness. And so these cultural elites, the ones that tell us that a marriage, a traditional marriage, is not a union between a man and a woman, but it can be a union, between not just two people of the same sex. They would say, some of them, many people. It doesn't have to be, two people. It could be 6 people. And so these cultural elites are well-educated members of our society, but they're ungodly.
But Carol, isn't it Americans' responsibility to stand up to these cultural elites? I mean, I don't think they would be in the position that they're in if Americans weren't allowing.
Professors, the kids in the classroom are not going to stand up to a college professor.
Well, the churches are not standing up to
Amen.
these people.
And I think we do need to, don't you agree? I mean, we've got to take a stand.
But you know why some people don't? They don't want to seem stupid. And so with the cultural elites, they use shame to silence other people. And we have to be aware of the tactics that they use and not allow that to silence us. They use name calling, like if you are to make a statement, all of a sudden you're racist, you're homophobic, you're xenophobic. Go down the list. They use names.
They're going to put a lawsuit on you.
To silence people when...
People I think are just genuinely afraid to challenge the status quo because we know that, we have different factions that possess the power and people don't want to come up against the power because they feel there are going to be repercussions. And many people right now, when you look at it, the number one concern is yourself. And if you put yourself out there, if you're in an academic position or you're leading a corporation and you make one statement that kind of challenges the status quo, people know there might be some reprisals and things that are going to come back on them.
Well, I mean, I agree that that's the case, but at the same time, for those of us that are truly called of God, we are supposed to be thinking beyond ourselves.
I'm wondering if the Republican debate, I'm wondering why, that's probably why there's so many people running, because they say, I have a voice. I know the difference between right and wrong, and I'm going to stand up for it. You realize they talked about God as the last question, whereas the Democratic years ago, they said God wasn't even going to be a subject.
I think that's why your action points really address that, that you give people practical, and a lot of times we don't stand up because we're not informed. My people perish for lack of knowledge.
That's right.
And so one of the things you have people do in your book is to read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So that we know what our rights are.
And read the 10 Commandments. I mean, you may confess Christianity, maybe you got sprinkled as a baby, but do you really know what the Bible says?
Well, and Carol, you also mentioned lies, that there's a lot of lies out there. And I came across this quote from actually Hitler, that he said that, isn't it fortunate for leaders that men don't think? Because he quotes that if you tell a lie, and you make it big enough, you tell it often enough, people will believe it.
But
and we've got to expel the lies.
We are taught as a child, we are raised up to respect authority. Okay?
We can respectfully disagree, though.
But you grow up thinking, well, they know better. They're the authority.
You're right.
I need to listen to what they know best. But they don't always know best.
But we also grow up believing that surely that the president is not going to lie to us.
Right.
That's what I was going to add that point. I think in America, we have kind of lost that God consciousness. And, no one is really, we talked about the church and Christianity, but no one is really looking to the church to actually provide guidance and provide speech. And now we have so many different opinions of the church because many, when you look, people will see Christianity and they even see us as violent. They look back in history and they look at, how the Spanish Inquisitions, you know, moving forward, coming into colonization of America, and all based on Christianity and the violence that was present. So many have kind of lost the faith in Christianity. So how do we get them back?
Yeah.
Preachers need to start preaching truth.
Amen.
Exactly. You had a book, quote in your book, and we all know it, from Edmund Burke. The only thing necessary for triumph over evil is for good men to do nothing.
Right.
And we've got to
That's where
stand
we're
up.
at.
God gave us a voice, and we need to use it.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, your book was endorsed by Sean Hannity, Lou Dobbs, Jennifer O'Neill, I believe, and many more that I'm not mentioning. But do you feel this book is part of your legacy? Or what
Well,
God has called you to do?
I believe God has called me to be a voice in America.
Yeah.
And so part of what I'm trying to do is to empower and help educate just everyday people. And so this book was not written for my colleagues. My colleagues probably hate this book. They took time to read it. And so I do believe that God, you know, has allowed me to get my education and to assimilate information for his people.
Great.
But the good thing, I read in your book too, you have written articles for the newspapers, and they've come against you. I mean, they've come up against you.
I was once writing for the Huffington
Huffington
Post. Right.
Yes, but I'm thinking about the Muslim,
Right.
the Muslim article
Right.
that you wrote, and all the Muslim
Yes.
students rose up against you.
No, it wasn't just them. It was my colleagues. It was Christians. I mean, I was pretty much standing alone at one point.
But the difference was they come up to help you. The good guys came to the rescue and they stood behind you. Stay with us. We'll be right back. That makes a difference when you've got someone coming up behind